Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Sharpe Way Show. So happy to have you here. It is, yes, 7 p.m. on the East Coast. And I'm here again, yet again, every night trying to do the right thing for you guys. I hope. By the way, tomorrow there will not be a show. I'll be traveling, heading over to California for the Libertarian Party of California's event. So I'll be there this weekend. So no show tomorrow. But today I decided, you know what? I'm going to do a little bit of a wrap up, talking about a couple of different issues that have kind of popped up and people have been bugging me online about it. The Israeli conflict, mask mandates or lack thereof, or whichever you might think, either way, and the ransom for the Colonial Pipeline company. I'm going to cover kind of all three of those if I could, and take your comments, of course, as always, but also give maybe a more libertarian view that some people probably wouldn't think of. As always, you like what I'm doing? Click that like button. There's only a couple of likes. Click some more likes. You click a like or a love or a hate or whatever, a sad or a wow. I don't care. Click something that says you care and comment. Tell me what's up and please share. It does matter. The first piece I think I want to bring up is perhaps the most controversial, and that is the fight in the Middle East. Recently, in a conversation with Destiny, the YouTuber, gamer and YouTuber, we had a conversation about foreign policy, and many of his people got mad at me and were like, oh, you got to be involved in all the conflicts, and oh my God, what's wrong with you? And it's so terrible and all these things. And I would argue that most of these conflicts that are going on in the Middle East have gotten worse because of us, have gotten worse because of our intervention. Not better, absolutely worse. I'm going to cover some of the PBS NewsHour and what's going on. And I'm going to give you my 2 cents on where we should be going and how we should be dealing with this issue.
Biden said he hoped that this latest conflict would end sooner than later. But Netanyahu said they will continue to strike Hamas militants and their military capabilities.
And for those of you who don't get this, right, of course, Biden wants it to end soon. I don't. And you might go, Larry, what a cruel person you are. You want them to keep bombing each other? No, I don't. I want them to solve their problem. One of the reasons, and this is complicated, I'm going to act like it's grossly simple, but for us, meaning for Americans who are not involved there, for us, it's grossly simple. For them, it's not, but for us, it is. I want this to end. I want them both to agree to something and end this. And sometimes, sadly, when it falls to violence, violence begets violence. And until you have an end, the war doesn't end. Most people don't realize the reason why we're having these fights right now in the Middle East, why Israel is fighting Hamas or fighting in the Gaza Strip or the Golan Heights or wherever they're fighting, is not because of the battles today. It's because of the battles of 30, 40, 50, 60 years ago. Some of you know this, some of you don't. But there have been many wars for Israel since 1948. 48, 67, and 73. I think that's right. And of course, some smaller border clashes, but 3 big wars. And one of the reasons why we're still having this problem now is because we stepped in to stop it then. Yeah, we stepped in and called ceasefires and told them to stop fighting when they were in the middle of fighting, or we got involved in their fighting. When the Arabs were winning against the Israelis, we stepped in to help the Israelis. And then when the Israelis went against the Arabs, the Russians wanted to stop the war then. And so we've used the Middle East as a proxy war to fight other enemies. We do it in Syria. We do it in Israel. And the reason why we care about fighting Hamas is because Hamas is backed by Iran. That's why America cares so much, because it's backed by Iran. We're fighting a proxy war. And now Palestinians are dying on behalf of Iran, and Israelis are dying on behalf of America. I would like none of them to die on behalf of us. I'd rather none of them die. But if they're gonna die, let them die for their causes and their reasons, not ours, not as proxies for us and the Russians or the Iranians or whatever the case may be. This is proxy war stuff that we shouldn't be involved in. If we had left them alone in 67 and 73, one of 2 things would have happened. Either the Arabs would have beaten Israel, or the Israelis would have beaten the Arabs, one or the other. What actually happened is neither. We just stopped. There was a ceasefire. Remember how Jimmy Carter got a peace treaty between Egypt and Israel? Was it 1978? Was it? I forgot. 79? Yeah. The war was over for 6 years or whatever it was before that happened. We just stopped fighting. You might say, Larry, aren't you glad you stopped fighting? No, because to this day, right now, and I know this because I used to, before the COVID lockdowns, I used to work in Manhattan all the time. And many of the hot dog vendors in Manhattan, many of them are of Egyptian descent. So I would talk to them. So I'm getting a hot dog, whatever, on the street, talk to some of these guys. Some of them were my friends. We chat. And you ask an Egyptian who's in America now, who won the Egyptian-Israeli war, they will say Egypt. And they believe it. They go, yeah, they had to stop fighting because we were winning. Ask Israelis. No, we're kicking their butt. We just stopped because we're kicking their butt. So neither side thinks they lost. Well, of course you're going to have problems. But there's the worst part. Because there was a ceasefire, we didn't bother winning the peace. So there wasn't an actual treaty that said this land, the Golan Heights or whatever, is actually now Israel or not. It's occupied territory. Holy crap, are we asking for fights? Are we asking for war? We should have ended the fight, allowed them to end the fight. If they would have ended the fight, whatever, in any way it would have ended, then this would have been either Israel or not Israel or Jordan or whatever. And then there's no worry about who controls. Now you have people saying, well, Palestine isn't really a country and never was or whatever. I don't care what you call them or what you decide. Give people a homeland to live and control over their own lives and not occupied forces and such. This goes away. This is our fault. And when I say our, I mean United States and the UN, but heavily United States, for not allowing this war to end and for backing each side to keep fighting. Well, Larry, if we don't back these sides, then Israel will be destroyed or Palestine will be destroyed or Jordan will be destroyed. First of all, I don't know if any of that's true, but let's say it is. Well, I have an idea. Then let's solve the problem. And this isn't the first time this happened. To be forward, this entire problem here is another proxy war between two factions of Islam, the Shia and the Sunni. And we've tried to stop that because of colonialism. We never let them have their civil war. Well, Larry, do they have to have a war? I don't know. I'm not Shia or Sunni. I don't get to decide whether they have a civil war. Christians did. We had a 30 years war. Remember that? 1618 to 1648. Yes, because Treaty of Westphalia is 1648. 1648, 30-year war. Protestants versus Catholics. We fought for 30 years to kind of square ourselves away. We still fought even after, but we had it. We won't let them have it. We had our own civil war in America. Imagine if somebody stepped in during our civil war and said, stop fighting. Let's just make a DMZ and we'll make, Kentucky and Virginia the DMZ. We'll just do that and we'll have occupied. Oh my God, imagine what would be happening in our country. That's what we did in Israel. That's what we did in the Middle East. We didn't allow these things to end one way or the other. And to fix this situation. This is the problem. And now we back each other, which makes it worse. Israel doesn't have a problem fighting. They know America backs them. Iran doesn't have a problem fighting. They know Russia backs them. So they keep throwing money to Hamas. Hamas keeps fighting. They know Iran backs them. What if no one backed them? Either they have to fight a horrible war or they have to stop fighting. And I go back to World War I. Yes, I'm throwing history at you guys. I threw the 30 Years' War. Now I'm going to throw World War I at you. World War I explodes for an important reason. Because Germany decides to back Austria no matter what. And because Russia decides to back Serbia no matter what. That's the issue. That's the issue. If either of them had said, I'm not backing you, go to war. I'm not going to throw my country into a bloody world war over your garbage. I'm not doing it. If either just said, no, I'm not doing that. World War I doesn't happen the way it did. Hopefully it would never have happened, but who knows that? But the way it did, it wouldn't have happened. Because either it would have been a local war, just Austria versus Serbia, or no war at all. Serbia would have just given up and said, we surrender. Well, your demands are good. Yes, we're not going to fight. One of those two things would have happened. I don't know which one. One of them would have happened. It wouldn't have been the way World War I popped up. And we wouldn't be having these fights in the Middle East if we just let the people be who they are. Our answer in America is only one thing. Walk away. That's America's answer. Walk away. But Larry, Israel will be destroyed. I don't believe that for a second. Israel has the most powerful army. It has the most powerful economy, and it has nuclear weapons. Israel will be fine. I'd be more worried if they nuke their neighbor or something. That might happen. Iran's going to be fine. Iran fought a 10-year war against Iraq and still survived that. Survived chemical weapons. They're not going to be destroyed either. Iran's older. The Iranian nation, Persia, is older than all those nations. It's fine. It's all good. They'll be fine too. They'll find their own answers. I hope it won't be violent. I hope it won't be war. But if it is, it's their war. I hope they decide peace. America became a country through war. Canada, not. Both are the right answer. Each nation picks its own path.
Thus far, at least 53 Palestinians, including 14 children, have been killed. 7 Israelis have died in rocket attacks. Even so, as John Yang reports, Israel stepped up airstrikes in Gaza, and Hamas.
And this sounds horrible. I know it does, guys.
Continued rocket fire into Israel.
See that? Let me ask you, how's that going to help?
Plumes of gray smoke mark the
How's this
sites of
helping?
more Israeli airstrikes that pummeled the Gaza Strip as the latest spasm of violence showed
Look at
no
that.
signs of letting up.
How
Most
is
of
this
a high-rise
helpful?
building in Gaza City collapsed. In Khan Younis,
So now what'd you do with her? Now she loves Israel all of a sudden. She's like, oh yeah, you bombed, you blew it on my house. Boy, I love Israel now. No. You know what she wants? Revenge. That's what that woman wants right now. Revenge. That didn't work. And when I'm not blaming Israel. Hamas is doing the same stuff in return. And when they're bombing people, Hamas bombing people, what are Israelis thinking? Oh, now I love it. No. Terrible idea. Terrible idea. Let me grab a couple of these. Thank you, Frosty, for saying this. Genocide, walk away. Yep, that makes no sense. It makes total sense, Friar Steve. Are we going to step in every single time that people start doing this? Why aren't we fighting the Chinese? They're beating up the Uyghurs, right? How about, was it Indonesians who were killing people in East Timor? Is that right? I'm not Christians in East Timor. I think it was in Indonesia. Or maybe it was Malaysia. I've forgotten. It's a Southeast Asian country. We're going to now step in and fight the Myanmar people who are destroying the Rohingya. Genocide again. We now going to attack the Turks because Armenians? We're gonna invade every time this happens? No. What I'm saying makes a lot of sense, Steve. A lot. I don't want to be sending Marines and landing on the beaches of every country. Instead, you know what I want to be doing? Showing them the right way to do things, and then opening up our borders in a smart way to allow for the right amount of refugees to come in. That's a smart move. I don't want to be bombing people every time and intervening every time they decide to kill a bunch of people. How about the reverse? How about we don't support them when they do? How about that? How about we show them that if you want to be successful in life, if you want to retain your people to be happy so you can stay in power, don't do mass exterminations. How about that? I love that idea. Any of those would work. The problem is we're talking about holding on and making things worse. I don't want to make things worse. And Steve, I believe that this is here. There's still having these problems because of us. Because of us. That's what I think. David says Indonesia was East Timor. Thank you. Indonesia. Thank you. Indonesia. 100%. This is what I'm trying to achieve. Yes. So Jimmy says their religious war has been going on for centuries. I don't think you can win religious wars. But you can end them, Jimmy, with an agreement. If you and I go back to the 30 Years' War, that was a religious war. It was also about other things too, of course, but it was couched in religion. The war ended with the Treaty of Westphalia in 1648. Did that stop Protestants from killing Catholics and Catholics from killing Protestants? Of course not. But the massive war did end, and there was some agreement. They agreed to, okay, you could be Catholic over there, and we'll be Protestant over here, and we don't kill each other. And they went, all right, we'll do that. And that was okay. So that was okay. Was that great? Of course not. But how could you find a better answer? I don't see a better answer. David says we need to leave them people alone. We just make it worse. Yes, I agree with you completely. Yes, totally. Carl says, I say we bomb the S out of them with our most advanced thoughts and prayers. There we go. But Frina, the perpetual war machine. Yes, because the war doesn't end. And this is the other problem. And this is one of the things I feel terrible for the people over there who feel like they're always at war. Do you remember? I never forget this. Remember in 2012, I think it was 2012, when Romney was running for president? Romney said, you know, being a peacetime president, and he needed to stop and go, because it wasn't peacetime. We were still fighting wars. We were still bombing 8 countries. But we had been at war for so long, so often, that it felt like it was the norm. So we called it peacetime because he was accustomed to fighting wars forever. It's a perpetual war machine. This guy was running for president of the United States and said peacetime because that's how we felt. We've been at war for so long, we don't know what peace is. My daughter is 17 years old. She's never known not being at war. Our country's been at war her entire life. I'm in my 50s, and my country hasn't been at war for, what, like 10 years of my life? That's about it. Yes, it is crazy. I don't get it. Yes. Fishmail says, I don't care. I do care. Let them do what they want. It shouldn't be our problem. There's a difference between not caring and intervening, right? I'm actually with the thoughts and prayer bombs. I'm with that. I think we should care. I think we should say what we feel. I think we should try to make things better. But I don't want to get involved. Fryer says, exactly, don't support them when they do. On that, we agree. Yes, I'll take that. I'll take that. But we didn't do that. We basically, through threat of violence, told them to stop fighting. That we would physically step in if they don't stop fighting. But they hadn't decided who won the war yet. They didn't know who won the war yet. And both sides claimed victory. Well, if you're claiming victory, why do you give up territory? This would happen after World War I, Versailles. Yeah, after World War I. The German people didn't think they had lost the war. How could they? No one had invaded the country. If you know the end of World War I, they surrendered because they were basically out of ammunition, out of everything. They were a destroyed nation. But no one was bombing their country after World War I. World War II, different issue, obviously. No one had bombed Germany. Germany wasn't invaded. In fact, Germany still held territory in Belgium and France at the end of the war. They defeated Russia. They won the war in the East. And they declared, we're going to end a ceasefire. There wasn't a peace. It was an armistice declared in 1918. And the German people couldn't understand why they lost. They thought, we didn't lose this war. Why are we giving up territory? Sets them up for World War II. Well, in the Middle East, the same thing. It wasn't obvious who had won those wars and lost those wars because we stopped it before they ended. So the Arabs thought, we won these wars. Why are we giving stuff up? Why should we? The Israelis, we won the war. Why should we give anything up? And so now they're still fighting. It's a terrible idea. It's a terrible idea. This isn't working. This is the wrong answer. And I think that's what I wanted to pick up. People are asking, what is the libertarian answer? It's walk away and don't support the people who are doing the worst killing. And when they want to fight and when they want to have peace, when they want to, be what America used to be about 100 years ago. And I'm serious. About 100 years ago, America was actually looked upon as an honest broker in the Middle East. I know it sounds crazy. But the reason was, and some of you people who are more left-leaning might be upset, is because they thought we only cared about the money, which was totally true. It was absolutely true. They thought you only cared about the money. They thought we weren't interested in conquering or controlling or taking over the oil or any of those things. When the French and the British were all colonizers. In those days, we weren't colonizers. America wasn't. We were only about the money. So the local people thought, oh, the Americans are in. This is great. They don't care about colonizing us. They just want cash. So if we can give them a good deal, they're actually honest brokers. That was the image of America about 100 years ago. That image is far gone. That image is nowhere near true anymore. We have completely screwed that up. I'd like us to go back to that image. We're the honest brokers. Why do you think so many of these deals have been brokered in places like Norway? Remember Norway, the Oslo Accords? Because they were seen in the Middle East as honest brokers. No one thinks Norway's trying to invade or conquer or colonize. So we had to use Norwegians to come up with any type of peace. That's where we are now. Not a good deal. Not a good deal. So I wanted to bring that piece up. Some of you, I'm sure, are curious about that, but that's the way we want to deal with this issue. We have to walk away, support those who do the right thing, ignore those who do the wrong thing, open up ourselves to assist those who need our help when they try to escape the conflict, and let wars end. Hopefully, when we are behind them and Russia or Iran's behind the other, that encourages them to fight. But imagine if Hamas had no backing. Imagine if we weren't going to back Israel, no matter what they do. You said, do what you want and defend yourself. They might have to negotiate more. They might have to have a real conversation and end some stuff. That's simple. I know it sounds a bit crazy, but it's true. I want to move on, if I could, to the ransomware piece, which kind of flows in this a little bit, but kind of not. The ransomware piece is the attack that was on the Colonial Pipeline. And the Colonial Pipeline, as you know, shutting stuff down here on the East Coast. Luckily, not New York, at least. One time we didn't get hit. Something, I guess. New York didn't get hit this time. Yay, us. But a bunch of the East Coast did, and lots of problems. The issue that people are concerned about is, did they actually pay the ransom? And did they have to move forward? Well, let me tell you a piece. This is from Bloomberg Politics. And this guy's talking about what he thinks happened and why it happened. And I'll cover that piece right now.
It looks at the role of cryptocurrency in ransomware attacks. With Bloomberg breaking the news that Colonial paid $5 million to hackers to get the pipeline back up and running, something President Biden just refused to comment on.
Now, I want to cover two parts of this because there's a second piece of this. If you guys remember, I was talking about cryptocurrency and this stuff a little bit last night with Tommy Brown. And he was talking about the idea that going to come for your cryptocurrency. And some people are like, they're going to come for cryptocurrency. Yeah. Because they're saying the role of cryptocurrency in this. How is the role of cryptocurrency the reason why? So if all of a sudden we got rid of cryptocurrency, no more ransomware, right? No more attacks, no more cyber attacks. And we just got rid of, you know what? Let's just outlaw cryptocurrency and then all the cyber attacks go away. Yeah, no, that's not how that works. But you hear it already. Keep listening.
We welcome now the man who served under President Trump as his Secretary of Energy. He's Dan Brouillette. So welcome. It's great to have you here, Dan. Thank you for coming back. Give us your take on this pipeline and the issue with our infrastructure.
Yep.
Thanks, David. It's great to be back with you. I think if the story's correct and in fact a ransom
was
paid, it'll be very unfortunate. I hope that the company wasn't advised to do that. I suspect that they weren't.
I'm going to go the opposite where he says, I think they were advised to do so. Right? For those of you who don't know, there's literally a group of people who are advisors. Ransomware and ransom attacks are so common. There was a consulting industry around it on how to get out of it, to include how to negotiate and to pay off ransoms. That's a thing. Like, you could be one of those guys if you wanted to. So they probably were told to do so, because the problem is trying to repair or fix it is expensive and timely. And when your pipeline isn't moving and the President of the United States and who else knows, probably governors, are yelling and screaming at you and saying you can't have your monopoly anymore because we have to decide, of course, who gets what. The government has to decide who builds what pipeline, because you can't just decide that you need a pipeline. No, government decides. So as they're all over them, they're like, what are we going to do? So their IT people and the consultant said, pay the money. They'll walk us through. Give them $2 million now. They'll walk us through a bunch. They give us another $2 million. They're going to pay. They're going to do it because they want to keep doing this. So they have to make sure that they pay and they actually fix it so they can get the next person to pay. That's what they were actually told by consultants, not by government. This guy's a government guy. She's like, you can't negotiate with terrorists. Business people are like, it's way cheaper to give them $5 million than to lose everything. That's what their consultants told them.
But what it does is it incentivizes other actors to do similar
yes, it does.
around the country. And that's going to
totally correct. It is totally selfish of them to pay the $5 million. And I bet their consultants still told them to, for their own selfish reasons. But this guy's correct. It is a bad idea for us, but it was probably the right move for them.
be something the American people are going to pay for dearly.
So what can we do to harden our infrastructure? We just heard President Biden talk about that. We need to do it. You've been in the job. What, as a practical matter, can we do? And is
What
it
can we do?
private or is it public or a private public partnership?
Well, it's a little
Watch
bit
this.
of both. You know,
Yep.
the government doesn't own, as the president mentioned, the government doesn't own many of the networks. The pipeline is private in this case. Most of the
Hold on, but there's a caveat here. He's right. The government doesn't own it. Most of it's private, but there's a caveat.
pipelines in America are indeed owned by private corporations. Much of the electricity grid is the same. So the government doesn't really build out. So hardening is not really a function for the government. What the government can do a better job of is sharing the intelligence that we have with the private industry so that they understand what the threat is.
What do you hear me say all the time? The government should be a central repository for information. I say that all the time, and I keep saying it. If the government's not going to own anything, okay, great. Don't own it. No worries. I'd rather them not anyway. But how about instead, let them go there and look at what's going on? Hey, here's some of the stuff that's happening. You might get affected by this.
And can build out their networks to address it. That's something.
And can build out their networks to address it. That's hard to do because the government won't let them.
And the government can do a better job of. The other thing the government could do a better job of is to look at these rate filings and understand that when a company asks for additional rate or additional resources for cyber improvements, that they approve them and that they grant them. The third thing the government.
Yes. So let the market decide how much money this stuff costs so the companies can build out more stuff. We get mad at them and go, well, they didn't do this thing. Well, when their prices and fees and rates are capped by the government, they can't afford it.
Government can do is begin the process of reforming the permitting process throughout America and allow more infrastructure to be built. Redundancy and defense in depth is really the ultimate.
Redundancy and defense in depth. Yes. Yes. So when one goes down, you have another. But when the government decides where each one goes, and the government doesn't allow you to build anything else because of permits, or the government says you can't do extra, or you can't raise your rates, or you can't do this, you can't do that, then the government says you can't do it and then blames you for not being prepared. This guy is the former Secretary of Energy, and he's saying it. He's a government guy saying this. You want to make this work? Make them responsible for every aspect. Make the private sector responsible. You screw up, it's your fault. But you have the freedom to build like you want to build so that you don't screw up.
An answer here.
Well, Dan, maybe this is a redundancy issue, but it strikes me that we talk about hardening the infrastructure. We've seen something like 400 attacks on infrastructure in 2019 alone.
400 attacks in 2019 alone. See that? 400 attacks in 2019 alone. We are not ready for this, guys. I've been saying this for literally years. They're doing this because we're an easy target. We're an easy target. We're not ready for this. Some of you teased me when I was like, you know what? Maybe it's time for us to stop putting special forces in other people's countries and taking these people out. Some of you got teased me or got mad at me. I know. What are the options we got? If it's 400 last year, what's it this year? 600? 800? They got this one, this pipeline. What do you get? 4 pipelines next? Nuclear power plants? What's the next step? The Hoover Dam? Is that the next step? That's the next step. If we don't find a way to stop this, and we simply aren't, we've dropped the ball. We're too busy building tanks and worried about whether we're going to drone people in the Middle East. We're worried about droning kids in Yemen and blowing up weddings in the Middle East. That's what we're worried about. Let's buy drones and let's buy tanks and let's do this and let's occupy Afghanistan and Iran. When we should have been sitting here knowing how to defend our own stuff versus cyber attacks. That's our problem.
In this country is part of the answer to decentralize. That is to say, we can't protect against all attacks.
Okay, Tommy's getting ready to jump out of his seat now. Tommy, you're right. Decentralize. Don't yell. Tommy Brown's getting ready to yell right now. Yes.
But maybe we shouldn't put all of our eggs in one basket, whether that's electricity, the electric grid, or whatever.
Well, that's true, David. I mean, when you think about this one incident, 45% of the refined product moving to the Northeast comes on one pipeline. The obvious.
Literally, this is a government guy saying decentralize. Same stuff I've been saying forever. If you decentralize, the damage isn't so great. The money, you can't pay the money. Say there was a local pipeline across one state or something like that. Or there are multiple pipelines and one of them gets shut down across the state. That pipeline can't afford $5 million. They don't have it. So they can't pay. They don't have it. So what would happen? They would shift into another pipeline. So we would still get our stuff. They wouldn't be pressured and they can't pay the $5 million. Done. If they had cyber insurance, which would be the next thing, and the insurance would be to buy all new computers. They would have the right backup to where they could buy all new computers. Now, to be clear, I do that myself. I literally have backups that are not connected to the internet and other computers. If someone ransomwares my computer and I can't afford it or whatever, I throw my computer out. I'm not joking. Throw it out, whatever, destroy it, reboot it, whatever's required, right? Reboot it, put my other computer in, click my drive in. I'm back up. I'm back up within, 2-3 hours if someone does it to me. Now, obviously, you can't do exactly that for a large organization, but the equivalent you could. You'd have insurance for ransomware, whatever that is. Now, if the insurance for ransomware doesn't pay the fine, but the insurance for ransomware simply fixes the computer problem, either gets the backup or buys new computers, then the ransom doesn't get paid. If the ransom doesn't get paid, they'll stop doing it because it won't be lucrative.
This question that should be raised is, why do we only have one pipeline? Why is there only one pipeline carrying this much fuel to one of the most populated areas?
I will tell you why. Because of what you said earlier, their permit process. Why do we not have enough beds during COVID? Because certificate of need. The government decides. Why do we only have one pipeline? Because the government decides. Yeah.
Is in the country today. And I think the answer is very simple. It is very difficult to get permitting, to get approval for the development of new pipeline infrastructure.
Absolutely. And that's the piece I want to bring up. That's the most important piece. We can fix this if we can. Let me run down a couple of comments. Kirk says, insurance, you've lost it on that point. Why wouldn't I want insurance to buy new computers if I get ransomware? Why wouldn't I want that? Is that insurance a bad idea? It sounds like a good idea to me, right? If I had a large organization and I was afraid something like this, that I would have some type of ransomware, I think I'd get an IT consultant to show me how I need to back up effectively. So if something goes down, I only lose a certain amount of data, whatever that is, from a short period of time, that I can easily back it up. Is that cloud? Is that, some offsite? Whatever is the appropriate IT answer. I don't know that answer, but hopefully they would. The insurance company would see what protocols I'm using, insure me, and then if all of a sudden I then lose my, I get ransomware, I have a choice. I can pay the X million dollars for the bad guys who are doing that, or I can just let my insurance kick in, and my insurance will assist me in buying the new systems, whatever those systems are, or having them on backup or whatever, or loaning, renting them or whatever, leasing them, whatever the case may be, for those types of things. But not just that. What would insurance want me to do? Insurance might say, I don't want you to buy all your computers. I don't want you to. I would like you to lease all your computers. And now you have another industry, computer leasing. Why does that matter? You get ransomware, the computer leasing company takes all the old computers back and gives you a bunch of new ones. And then they wipe the old ones and release them. That's a whole nother industry. So I think it absolutely could work. So you assume insurance companies are honest. No, I don't. I do not assume that at all. I assume insurance companies will actually want you to have a system to where they don't have to pay, which means they're going to give you good protocols. Not that they're honest at all, but if they insure big companies, even insurance companies have an issue because they get sued in court by larger organizations, and some of these organizations will be very large, so they'll have to find the right answer, right? That's how you would do it, right? And Kirk then goes, how much expense do you want to impose on the end user? It's not a requirement, Kirk. I'm not saying you have to have it. I'm not. But it's that, or they have to have backups in their own, or pay $5 million. Kirk, you decide. You run a pipeline, you pick the one you want. You want to have insurance? Pick that. You want to pay $5 million when they ransomware you? You pick that. Either way, you do what you got to do. I'm saying an answer that would allow companies to make some decisions that they might think are best. But I'm not saying a requirement. You decide. Do whatever you like. Jimmy says, deregulate them and let them monitor themselves. I'm not sure I want to go that far with that, because that's such a change in culture that it might be actually a culture shock. You want to deregulate them and walk away, right? You want to step back. Just letting it go, very often people do a really bad job when it comes to that. They do a really bad job. Just my opinion. Carl says, the future is nuclear. I hope you are right. I hope you are right, my friend. Nuclear is way better. And you can have multiple grids, right? One gets shut down, others can back it up. It's much safer in general. And the Gen 4 nuclear reactors, it's virtually impossible to melt down. The worst thing that happens is the whole thing crashes. You have to rebuild the whole damn thing. That's the worst thing that happens. But it doesn't melt down. Just it crashes and you rebuild it, which sucks. But again, I know Kirk hates insurance, but you could get insurance for that if you wanted to. So that if it does happen, you have enough money to rebuild it out. So I think it's a much better answer. Dustin says Cyber War 1. No, Dustin. It's Cold War 2. That's what it actually is. Cold War 2. Cold War 1 was US versus USSR. And the mass destruction weapons were nuclear. And we had a huge advantage. The junior partner at that point was China. And we fought most of our proxy wars against China, a couple against Russia, but most were against China. So it was the USSR and China as a junior partner. The massive wars were the mass destruction wars were nuclear, America and the USSR. And because that, we bought each other and didn't have that war. There weren't nuclear exchanges because we had mutual assured destruction. So we fought only proxy wars. Mostly were against China, but also against Russia too. Vietnam, Korea, Yugoslavia, Afghanistan. We fought proxy wars. And eventually we won the Cold War. Good on us. But we lost the peace. We won the war, and then we lost the peace. And because we lost the peace, that got us into Cold War II. But now China is a senior partner, and Russia is a junior partner. And the weapons of mass destruction is now cyber. And then now our cyber exchanges. Why? Because there is no mutual assured destruction. We don't have the guns to fight back. In Cold War I, at first the Russians didn't, and they were afraid. Then they got the bomb. And when they got the bomb, no more threat of war between the two big boys, because that meant mutually assured destruction. We need to have cyber to a point where it's mutually assured destruction. That will ensure China and us don't fight. The way the Russians, the Soviets and us fought was heavily espionage. Heavily espionage. Now, it's the markets. We fight in the markets instead. We're in Cold War II. And right now, we are losing Cold War II. And America doesn't want to tell you that. People don't want to say it. We are losing Cold War II right now to the Chinese. That is happening at the moment. The Russians are their junior partner, and they are very effective. Just as the Chinese were the Soviet junior partner, and they were very effective. And now it's happening for us. We need to win this thing. And it's to stop building tanks and the military-industrial complex, and instead, special forces and cyber offensive capabilities. Critical piece, 100%. So I've been saying it for years, and I'll keep saying it. It's right. Yes. Michael says they just paid the ransom from the start. They wouldn't have been shut down. They got breached and compromised. The only option was to pay the ransom or replace your. Thank you, Michael. I agree with you. I think they were told to pay, right? This guy said, I hope they weren't told to pay. I don't think they were. I said the opposite. I think you're right, Michael. I think they were told to pay, right? I think that their IT guru said, no way. It'll cost more and take more time to replace this. Just let them have it and let them walk us out. And I know what people say. Well, Larry, if they do that, they'll just do it to them again. They won't. They'll do somebody else. Because if they keep doing it, then no one else will pay. There has to be a success in paying so that others will still pay. And that's what's happening. Of those 400 attacks, are you telling me nobody paid? I'm going to tell you, a bunch of them paid. And they gave it back to them. Said, okay, fine. You're giving it back. Take it. And they take it. I think you're totally right. That's what happened. Yes. I think that's exactly what happened. David says, I remember the movie Casino, where Robert De Niro's character had a private safe deposit box where he kept a lot of cash in case he was kidnapped. Yes. Now we have cryptocurrency. Yeah. It's crazy. Yes. But I do worry about this stuff. I do. I do worry about stuff like this. I do in my own world, right? I'm no one as popular or powerful as these guys who run these things, of course. But in case someone ever does, I literally can be up and running in a couple hours. In a couple hours, I could be up and running. Yes. So Carl says, first nation to make Cyborg from the Justice League wins. I love that. That's going to be us, though. I mean, we got, come on, we got to do that, right? Actually, Japanese might, huh? They're the robot guys. Might be the Japanese. I hope not. I hope not. I'd rather it be us. So Sam says, dear non-business owner friends, we business owners voluntarily have lots of insurances because shutting down is expensive and catastrophic. Damage to equipment or key holders needs to be fixed. Yeah, I agree. Right. I hold insurance. I'm a small business owner also, and I actually hold errors and omissions insurance in case I screw up. Now, I've done it for a long time. I've kept it, but I also keep it because sometimes companies who want to work with me, they won't bring me aboard unless I have it. And some of them want me to have 5 million, some want me to have 1 million, depends, they'll change. I keep about $1 million of insurance that if I screw up somehow and I mess somebody's company, whatever, I got $1 million to pay the lawsuit. Why? Because I don't want to get screwed. I don't want my company to go under. I don't want to lose everything. So I have insurance. Some companies make me up it to 5 million. I've done that back and forth and gone up and down, and I pay extra for that. Of course I do. But I don't work. Exactly right. Yes, I agree. So the future is in weed fuels. I hope so. That'd be amazing. I love that. Dustin says, I still think thorium reactors are better than Gen 4 uranium. Look, I'm happy with that too. I am. I'm not fighting it. I don't want this stuff to happen. That's the example, right? I don't want this happening. So yes. Jason says, yep, it's all econ attacks, proxy wars, and buildup. This is why, yes, 100%. I don't want that to be the case. So, but the next piece I want to bring up is, this is right after this, what happens? Well, after this guy talks about cryptocurrency and such, now all of a sudden, you know who hates cryptocurrency? Who hates Bitcoin? Oh, Elon Musk now hates Bitcoin. What happened there? That's not fishy at all, is it? Elon Musk hates Bitcoin all of a sudden?
Tesla will no longer accept Bitcoin payments, citing concerns around Bitcoin mining and environmental concerns. Bitcoin dropping sharply since Musk's tweet last night, trading under $50,000 right now.
So all of a sudden now, Elon Musk doesn't like Bitcoin anymore. You know, I wonder, did he tell anybody that he was going to tweet? Did he tell anybody he didn't like Bitcoin anymore? I bet he did. I bet he told some friends, you know what I don't like anymore? Bitcoin. And they went, really? Hold on, let me call my broker. You said what about Bitcoin you didn't like? Right? That's what happened all of a sudden. And people started selling off all of a sudden. Right? I don't know why he didn't tell me. I'd have sold my Bitcoin then, right? I mean, but all of a sudden now, this is a guy who literally moves the market. His tweets move the market. And now he doesn't like Bitcoin all of a sudden. He liked Bitcoin. Maybe he bought whatever, $100 million, whatever he bought. I forgot what he bought. Whatever amount of money he bought in Bitcoin. He's buying Bitcoin. Bitcoin shoots up. Elon Musk loves Bitcoin. Shoots up. Elon Musk, I don't like Bitcoin. Shoots down. That guy moves the market. Yet, who they put? Didn't they put Martha Stewart in jail for like 20 grand or something like that? They put her in jail, but he's okay. And all of a sudden, he doesn't like Bitcoin. Why? Because the economy doesn't like it?
Joining us, Anthony Pompliano, founder and partner at Pomp Investments. And I guess Bitcoin bulls like you, Anthony, were more than happy to accept Elon's endorsements in terms of, you know, accepting it for payment and putting it on the balance sheet. What do you think now that
Elon doesn't love you anymore.
Occurred to him? It just suddenly, because he knew all along all these things, and suddenly, you know, he's on Saturday Night Live 1 second, and then, you know, a couple.
Thank you. He's on Saturday Night Live. I mean, isn't this weird? Isn't this weird that Elon Musk gets away with just moving the market all he wants, but the Robinhood people couldn't? They were bad. Elon Musk is fine. He can move the market. He goes on Saturday Night Live and now says, I don't like Bitcoin anymore.
A couple of days later, he drops this bombshell. What do you think is happening?
Yep.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, guys. Look, I think that we've got to just kind of stick to the facts, right? And I always say, don't
Tell
listen
me.
to what they're saying, just watch what they're doing. Elon Musk is still long billions of dollars of Bitcoin. Between
Yep.
Tesla, SpaceX, and personally, Elon Musk owns billions of dollars of Bitcoin, and he's
Sure.
not selling it because of this kind of energy narrative. The second thing is that the facts are overwhelming. 75% of miners use
Tell
some
me.
form of renewable energy. And the reason is because the financial incentive is for miners.
Well, I'm not sure any of that's real. I don't know. I mean, he obviously wants it to be true, so maybe it's true. But my point is, all of a sudden now we decide, oh, now we don't like Bitcoin. Oh, it's because cryptocurrency. Yeah, don't forget the guy Ulbricht who started Silk Road. That guy got multiple life sentences, and wasn't convicted of killing or harming or selling anybody anything. He was a heretic. He was making regular Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. He was making that real. He went to jail for multiple life sentences. Multiple life, not one life sentence, multiple life sentences. Meanwhile, he didn't kill anybody. Didn't kill anybody. Multiple life sentences. Literally, someone like Jeffrey Dahmer got less. Jeffrey Dahmer ate people, and he got less. He literally ate them. He ate human beings, and Jeffrey Dahmer got less than multiple life sentences. I just makes no sense. Yes, it does. He's a heretic. How dare you attack our dollars? I would ask anybody who may be confused, you're not sure, how much energy and time and money is put into making dollars? A whole lot. Not just that, what's the most common currency used by people who are doing bad things, illegal, terrorism, whatever in the world? Most common currency used, without question, US dollars. Not even close. Winner by far. So maybe we should get rid of those US dollars. Those people doing bad stuff with that. Drug dealers dealing in dollars. There's people, oh my God. UBS, again, more than once, UBS literally, and I mean this literally, was convicted twice of money laundering drug dealer money, cartel money. Not once, twice. US dollars, not cryptocurrency, not Ethereum, Bitcoin. No, US dollars, twice. Who went to jail? Right, nobody. It will be nobody went to jail. But Ulbricht is away for 2 lives, multiples, 3 lives. I forgot how many. They gave him multiple life sentences, whatever it was. It was like multiple life sentences plus 20 or something like that. Some crazy number. They gave him that. That's what he got. UBS, whatevs. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? You know, I mean, you know, your money laundering cartels, you know, who again literally lop people's heads off with machetes, and you're supporting that. But you know, it's UBS. Did it once, did it twice. Come on, what you know? Well, you can pay a fine. You'll be fine. That's where we are. This is a behind the scenes attack on cryptocurrency. This will come back. They will use this as a way to somehow punish, regulate, attack in some way, shape, or form cryptocurrency. Guaranteed. Yes. Kirk says, why in the world are these systems connected to the internet? Are they stupid or that dependent? I think dependent. That's what I think, Kirk. I think it's dependent. That's what I think. It makes sense for them to do it. I think that's why they do it. So Friar Steve says, Cold War II. Nice, Larry. Heard that from you first. Thank you, my friend. Appreciate that. Yes, absolutely. Benjamin says, because China owns too many of our politicians. Not just politicians, my friend. You're correct, and more. They also own some of our organizations, some of our industries, a whole lot of our real estate, a bunch of our treasury bonds. You're correct. You just don't go far enough. They own even more than that, Benjamin. More than that. Absolutely. Pete says, elect clowns, get a clown show. I guess we got what we paid for in that way. Yes. They may not hack again, but I bet they will sell the hacking info to another hacker. Advertise it all the time. Jason, that's brilliant. I think you're probably right. They'll probably wait like 6 months or a year and then it'll be sold. But the only problem they have is, right, this is becoming an industry full of lots of people. And when an underground industry becomes popular with lots of people, it becomes very easy to infiltrate. And what the FBI does very well, it's one of their skill sets. CIA too, but FBI is actually better than the CIA in this, is infiltrating. They're very good at it. FBI is brilliant at that. It's one of their skill sets. But the Russians have the same thing. They can infiltrate also. The problem is the FBI is not going to be able to infiltrate outside of America. Well, in theory, they will, but they shouldn't. They shouldn't. Maybe that's better. They shouldn't infiltrate outside of America. If these are American hackers, the FBI will be very good at infiltrating and breaking up these people and putting them all in jail. Sadly, they'll give them more reason to kick in doors. There'll be a war on cyber, and they'll start kicking in your door, Jason, because someone said you're a hacker, and it'll become horrible. I would rather the FBI use tactics with the CIA and or our special forces so they can go in and get these people out. And I'm not joking when I say this. Could you imagine if literally SEAL Team 6 went in and got a bunch of hackers out of some Ukrainian, Russian, Chinese, insert thing here, area, and pulled them all out? Maybe one or two got shot while they were around, and the rest got captured and brought here. Oh my God, would that change the entire game? That would change the game. So now do you want to sell that to someone else? You know, that person you're selling it to might be a CIA agent, might be a member of SEAL Team 6, might be an FBI agent who shouldn't be outside the country, might be a Secret Service agent. Maybe they consider this, you know, with the cryptocurrency, they call it counterfeiting, and they use the Secret Service instead. Maybe not. So now I think you're right. You change that policy, that goes away. That goes away. That's one thing I think we have to worry about. So yes. Brian says, before I retired, I kept a $1 million umbrella policy. Me too, Brian. I keep the same thing. I sometimes up it depending upon what company I'm working for, but I keep it flat at $1 million. I agree. It's a good idea. And it's smart in general. It's a smart in general. Yes. The Elastic Giraffe says, Musk is now a Dogecoin man. Is that true? Did he do Doge? Man, you know, I had a buddy of mine tell me about Doge like, I don't know, 4 years ago. I never bought any. Now I'm like, man, I wish I had bought some. Yeah. So anyway, Dustin says China also mines the most Bitcoin. Ooh, I didn't realize that. China mines the most. That makes sense, right? You saying it does make sense. Yeah. Interesting. It makes total sense. Yeah. Maybe that's what it's about. Dave says Elon Musk is about people laundering money through Bitcoin and buying a Tesla and selling at a lower price. Is that it? So you money launder through Bitcoin, buying a Tesla and selling a lower price. Maybe that one seems like a tough one for me to grab at that point. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. Kirk says makes you wonder if Elon received little information about a planned attack on cryptocurrency. Could be that too. Maybe he's bailing now. It's totally possible. I mean, it's possible. Who knows? So Michael says Tesla holds 1.5 billion in Bitcoin. That's a lot of money. But for him, no. I mean, it's a lot of money, but for him, what are you going to do? Right? He could flex any way he wants with that. I mean, easily he could do that. Easily could. So, I want to now go, if I could, to the other piece. And that is, oh my God, he's a Doge father. I like that. He's a Doge father. I do want to go to another piece, which is today there was a change in CDC guidelines. And the CDC guidelines now are saying that if you are vaccinated, fully vaccinated, you no longer have to mask, right? Let me show you this. This is on new guidelines now. See if I can grab this here.
What did you take away from this? Because there's still
hold on. That's the CNN response. I don't want to give you the CNN response. My mistake. Hold on. I want to give you the other piece. That's the CNN response to it. I actually wanted to show you. I apologize. Let me give you the one I wanted to show you, which is actually not the CNN response, which is a different piece I wanted to bring up. It was the response to it. But this is the actual thing real fast.
Anyone who is fully vaccinated can participate in indoor and outdoor activities, large or small, without wearing a mask or physical distancing. If you are fully vaccinated, you can start doing the things that you had stopped doing because of the pandemic.
Now, the piece here is, now they said you could go ahead. But the issue here is we attacked, I mean, as a country, not everybody, as a country, we attacked Texas and Florida for all those who opened up early. Yet it wasn't that bad. We still saw the cases drop. We still saw people getting vaccinated. We still saw it.
More on all of this. Let's bring in Dr. Teresa Murray Amato. She is the
She's
chair
very
of
happy.
emergency medicine at
Here in New
Long
York State,
Island
by the way.
Jewish Forest Hills.
Is New York?
Hi, Dr. Amato. Great to see you. So this is a huge announcement coming out of the CDC, out of the COVID-19
It's
response
important.
task force. Can you put this into perspective for us? What does this say about the state of the pandemic?
Now, this should be obvious, right? Tell me if I'm This should be obvious. The CDC is saying out loud, not maybe, not could be, is saying out loud, you don't have to at all worry about wearing a mask, indoors or outdoors, big or small, if you are absolutely vaccinated, right? So should mean it's over, right?
Well, I would say that I certainly don't have a poker face. The smile is just from ear to ear right now. This is
Sounds good so far.
news, what we've been waiting for over a year during this pandemic crisis. So this is really, we knew the way out of this crisis was the vaccine program. And so to hear that.
And that's the problem that bothers me tremendously. Does that mean that every time a virus comes out, we shut everything down until we rush the vaccine out? Now, maybe we'll find out later. We'll know later on. Maybe this was exactly the right thing to do. I doubt it. I think it was not. But to be forward, I will allow history to judge this. Years from now, we'll look back and go, this was the right or the wrong answer. Maybe this was the best way to save lives. Again, I don't think so, but I'm open to being wrong. History will look back and we'll know for sure. But let's say this is the precedent that we've set now. This is what we're going to do every time. Every time. I'm shocked.
That once you're fully vaccinated, that you can really have the freedom of taking off your mask and starting to do the things we did before COVID hit is just the most wonderful news. And what
the CDC decides what freedoms we have. She said it and she's happy. I'm so glad that my master has allowed me to come out of my cage. Now, I'm not saying that we shouldn't have followed the guidelines, but she's not saying what I wish she had said and what we all should have said. You know, I'm glad the guidelines have been dropped because I wanted to follow the guidelines. I trusted them. That's what I wanted people to say and believe. Sadly, most people don't believe that. I'm not saying that. But that would be the right way. That would be a healthy way of having discussion. Oh, you know what? I believed in the CDC guidelines and I was following them voluntarily because I believed in them. And now they've changed the guidelines. I'm going to follow them now and I feel good about it. That would be a much better liberty, healthy way of speaking. That's not what she said. She said, now we get our freedoms back. Look at what's on the thing. You can have the freedom now. The CDC tells us whether we can have freedoms or not. That is a terrible precedent right then and there. That's a terrible precedent for so many reasons. One, that anyone could tell you. But even worse, the CDC isn't even elected. We don't have any power over them. We can't choose to hire or fire them. We have no vote or power over them. They're just hired employees. So it's bad enough that anyone can do it, but we don't even get to vote for them. So it makes it like doubly bad. Like it's already crappy. Now it's double crappy, right? So it's even worse. And people like her just go, yeah, so glad.
we've been waiting for. Just realize that although this is sounding like it's coming so very quickly, you know, first it was outdoors and then a few days later, it's okay to be indoors.
Listen to her. It's coming quickly. It's been a year. I'm sorry, a year and 2 months. This is not quickly.
Just realize that this is all based on science and that they're looking at the numbers
not sure about that,
and
no.
the transmittability of the virus once you've been vaccinated. And it really does seem like we're in a really great place. We just got to get as many people vaccinated as we can over the next few days to weeks. And really life as we used to know it is really starting to come back. I just want to put a little.
And I want to be forward again. I'm not against people wearing masks. I'm not at all. I'm not against people deciding that they believe in the CDC and following the guidelines. I'm not at all. if that's an organization that you trust, that you believe in, and you feel it's the right answer, please do that. Please follow what you think is best for yourself. Please do that. My issue is they say it, we must do it. That's my issue.
Caveat with that, the taking off the mask indoors is wonderful.
Yep.
But if you're a healthcare worker, if you work in a hospital or a nursing home, if you're going to be traveling on trains or buses or airplanes, they're still going to recommend to be wearing the mask. And I think that that's generally a good idea.
Why? It's a serious question. Why? Have airplanes been a massive vector? Do we have evidence of airplanes being a massive problem? Trains, subways. We don't. New York City subways were not super spreaders. That's a fact. I'm not making that up. You can do your own homework if you think I'm making it up. I live in New York City. They were not super spreaders. Airplanes, not super spreaders. Just not. That's a fact. They were not COVID super spreaders. Why would you still want to wear a mask on those if you're vaccinated? Why?
But it is going to be interesting to see people's faces again in public.
Absolutely. And I'm curious about what this means in terms of the variants. Does this prove that health officials are no longer concerned about how vaccines
Put that mask
protect
back on.
from
Put
against
that
the
mask
variants?
back on.
So I think you still have to be concerned about variants, but we know the only way that we get these variants is when we have the transmission of the virus.
There we go.
So really the way to combat these variants is to combat the transmission of the virus.
There we go.
And again,
And we know what's
if
not
can
super
get
spreaders.
enough people vaccinated, then there won't be any more transmission.
Now, the reason why I brought this piece up and I want to show you is that the conversation was not the conversation that I wanted to see. Again, I am not against masks. If you want to wear a mask, please wear it. When I go out, I keep a mask in my pocket because if I go to someone's store and they want me to wear it, I put it on. When I meet people, if they want me to wear it, I put it on to keep them happy, to keep them satisfied. I want to make people feel as comfortable as possible. If you want me to wear a mask, I will happily do it because you asked me to. Happily do it. I'm not against masks. I'm against the mandate. I've always been against the mandate. I'm still against the mandate. I can't stand that idea whatsoever. I hate divvying people up this way. I'm glad that we're finally anyway, let me just keep going. Pete says, bless your heart if you're waiting for the CDC to give you this permission. Again, not permission. See, this is the problem. Pete, I don't want us to not trust the CDC. But when they force this, we stop trusting the CDC. I would like us to I wish, Pete, that you believed in the CDC. I wish that it was a positive, and I'm not blaming you for not buying it. I'm not blaming you for it. If they wouldn't be the way they are, then maybe you would trust them. And I wish you would trust them. I wish we all would trust them. That'd be amazing. But we don't. That's the problem. Ed's jumping on board. Thank you, Ed. CDC is a total joke. Yes, that's what people think. I wish that wasn't true, but I get it. I get it. Farah Steve says, I think it's a horrible policy. I will keep wearing my mask. I don't want COVID, flu, or a cold. You know, that's interesting when I think of things. If you don't want any of it, you wear a mask because you just want to protect yourself over all of it. All right. You know, I'm okay. You know, I remember my mom. When my mom had cancer, she passed away of cancer about 8 years ago now. And when she passed away, 8? Yeah, maybe 8 years ago now. And when she was on chemo, she wore a mask when she went out because she was afraid if she got an infection that, she could literally die from it because her immune system was trashed because of chemo. And I wasn't upset with her. Wear your mask. And Steve, if you think it's the right answer, I think you should wear your mask, brother. I think it's all about however you feel, whatever you think is appropriate. Yeah. Carl says, I've been not masking outside of work since the end of February because I'm a big, tough anti-authoritarian and was also fully vaccinated at the beginning of February. Yes, I agree. Yes. Jason says, next comes the push for passports. I hope you're wrong, Jason. There has been a decent amount of pushback. I hope you're wrong. If I think, this is my gut, if the actual deaths begin to go down, the fear will begin to go away. If the fear begins to go away, CNN will stop pushing it every single day, and I think that will go away. I think And I'm not guaranteeing that. You might be right, Jason, but I want you to be wrong. So I'm going to tell you what I want to happen because I want you to be wrong. That's why. So the whole world in on the conspiracy. What conspiracy? I'm not sure what you mean by that. I don't think the whole world is involved in the conspiracy. I'm not a big conspiracy theory guy, to tell you. I'm not. I tend to doubt conspiracies, general rule. I'm a doubter when it comes to them. There's just so many of them and so many things that happen that I think that one of them is probably true just by default. There's just so many of them. One of them's got to be true. But I tend to be pretty doubtful on most conspiracies. And I say it. I tell you guys, I don't know about this one. Maybe that one is possible. So I tend to not be. But I'm all about free speech. And I'm all about people, doing what they feel is appropriate. Speaking of that, there's something I want you to do that's appropriate. And that is head on over to theadvocates.org and take the protest and civil disobedience survey. I've been pushing this survey this week because I want you guys to take it. Take the survey. Click the link that's in that description right there. They're one of my sponsors, and they help keep this show going. So please click that link, take that survey. It takes about 5 minutes. Finish it, and then share it. It does matter. It makes them happy, makes me happy. Everybody's happy. Please do it, and it's free. It's free. You go, Larry, I ain't got time for that. Okay, no worries. You got time to give me some money on Patreon? Do that instead. Do that instead. Patreon.com/Sharpeway. Throw me $10 a month. Why? Because I got lots of stuff going on. Can't you see? Did you click that link tree? We got a TikTok. We got a Sharpeway clips. We're working on locals now. We're Patreon. We're working on all kind of stuff. We're growing and putting out more content in more places. Why? I get canceled sometimes. Remember yesterday I got canceled on a couple of shows, on a couple of things in my shows. Well, I got to have more stuff out there. I'm working on it, putting more and more stuff out, trying to set up some more debates with people, trying to do more of that stuff for you guys. So please throw me some bucks. If you can't, throw me a couple bucks. And if you can't do the survey or took it already, like, comment, and share. It does matter. Click that like, comment, share. And I'll ask you one more thing if you can. Subscribe to my Sharpeway YouTube page. Not Larry Sharpe, the Sharpeway YouTube page. Subscribe to that page. Do that. Click that button so you get look. If you like all my Larry Sharpe stuff, like you like a free solution that I do, the show I do on Tuesdays and Thursdays or out of Western New York, that radio show. If you like Libertarians Drinking Coffee Live, that's done on Larry Sharpe. You can click on Larry Sharpe. You'll get that. If you only like the cool show at night, that's Sharpeway. Sharpeway only has Sharpeway show on it. It doesn't have the other cool things. It only has this. It's very localized just for this stuff. The nighttime shows at 7 p.m. That's what you get when you click for Sharpeway. If you think, oh, Larry, I'm getting clicked on you all the time. You're always going live. Just do Sharpeway. All you get is this one. Not too shabby, guys. Not too shabby. So I want to then move, if I could, to the reaction now from CNN. This is an important piece. This reaction matters, right? So they just heard that the mask mandate is no more from the CDC.
A lot of gray areas that have to be navigated.
He immediately goes, well, there's gray areas, right? He can't believe it's over. He's like, no, we've been milking this for a year and a half. What are you doing? No more Trump? No more COVID? No one's going to watch your station ever. He's like, no, please tell us something else is going to happen bad. I don't want to lose my job. Literally, that's what he's saying. There was no gray area. She was like, you don't got to do it. He was like, well, there's gray areas, right? Tell me something, guys.
Right. It's come into clearer focus, but there's still a little blurriness around the edges here.
He was like, well, there's some blurriness because he doesn't want this guy to cry. He's going to cry. If the doctor goes, no, it's pretty clear. He'll be like, no, oh, I just bought a house. I'm going to lose my job.
It's a big day. I mean, overall, I think the CDC, what they're saying now reflects the science that has been emerging now for the past several weeks. Really, since we started vaccinating people en masse and collecting real world data, it became very clear that not only were vaccines really good at keeping people from getting sick, they were also really good at keeping people from getting infected, because you could be infected without getting sick. But then the third component was that even if you did get an infection, even if you tested positive for COVID after having been vaccinated, was very unlikely you'd ever develop enough virus in your body to then transmit it to others.
And that's the key point. This is the key point. If you're vaccinated, the odds of you even contracting it are slim. And if you actually get it, you test positive, the odds of you actually having enough to infect someone else, slim. So you're probably not gonna. So if you're afraid of getting COVID because maybe you are over 70 and you have a pre-existing condition or your immune system is compromised, if you're in that world, I would be worried. If I was that person, I'd be concerned. I would be. And you should, if you're in that world, you should be concerned. COVID will kill you. It does. It could kill you, seriously. So be concerned. So obviously you get yourself vaccinated and maybe you would still keep wearing a mask because you'd be concerned. You're immunocompromised, whatever. Okay. But why would you care if I was wearing a mask? Not if I'm vaccinated. Doesn't matter. I'm not going to give you COVID. The odds are slim. Plus you're vaccinated, make it even slimmer. Plus you're wearing a mask. So you're wearing a mask. We're both vaccinated. Why are you concerned?
Those are the three components. Not likely to get sick, not likely to get infected, and very unlikely to transmit the virus to somebody else if you did.
This is CNN. This guy on the left, he is like, what are you saying? We're finished. Stop, doctor. You're killing me. Say we're all going to die. Will you just say we're all going to die?
So that's why this guidance now says if you're vaccinated, you really don't need to wear a mask indoors or outdoors, gatherings large or small, as you said.
Yep.
The blurriness I think that you're alluding to, which I completely agree with, is how do you know then? You go into a public place of some sort. You're vaccinated, so you're okay, protected.
You're okay.
Very well protected against getting sick.
You're vaccinated. His words. This is Dr. Sanjay Gupta. This is a mainstream CNN doctor, and he just said, you are very well protected. His words.
There may be other people who are not wearing masks. Are they also vaccinated? How do you know? Are they in compliance?
Why do you care? Are they in compliance? Why do you care? It's a serious question. And it goes down to the core of what I thought of being an American is. Clearly, I am wrong, but that's what I thought it was. And native libertarianism is that you own your own life. You own it, not me. I just said, I think that if you're over 70 and you have a pre-existing condition, you should be worried. That's my opinion, and I'm shooting you. I'm not ordering you. I should have no authority to order you. If you happen to be over 70 and you have a pre-existing condition and you decide that you want to go out anyway without a mask and without getting vaccinated, I think that's a bad idea. But that's all that is. My opinion. You own your own life. You want to roll the dice and gamble? Go ahead. You want to jump off an airplane and skydive? I think you shouldn't do that. I don't get to decide. So why do I care if you're in compliance?
How's that all going to sort out? I mean, unless
why does it? What do you care?
Proof of vaccination, that's going to be challenging. The other thing that
yes?
Dr. Walensky did not answer, despite being asked twice, once by Caitlin and once again by Kristen Welker, was why still masks on things like airplanes then? If you're saying you don't need to wear masks if you're vaccinated indoors, outdoors, gatherings large and small, why airplanes still?
I want to say this again. Sanjay Gupta is asking that question. This is a mainstream CNN doctor who has been telling us we're all going to die. COVID's going to kill all of us for the past year and a half.
There's still a little bit of, it's still not clear to me exactly what's driving some of those recommendations.
Nothing. Fear.
Sanjay, despite all of that, I just want to take a moment.
She said, despite all of that, hear what she says.
To mark this minute. Because I found myself welling up when Dr. Walensky was talking and she said we have an exciting announcement, and I still find myself welling up even right now because, you and I talked every morning, during the past year about how many more Americans were going to die,
She admitted it. We talked every morning about how many Americans are going to die. They did for a year. Why am I even bringing this up? Why would I show you this? Because they spent a full year on CNN scaring the hell out of us, scaring us like there's no tomorrow. They didn't give us information like they should have. They didn't express the science like they should have. They didn't say what was happening in different states or across. They didn't say that. They had a body count. I'm not making that up. You can do YouTube it, check it out. They had a literal body count. Upper right-hand corner on the screen every day of the screen. I said screen. They were screaming too. But of the screen, every day, body count, people dying, infected, the world's ending. You have to do this. You must do this. And their entire night show from 8 to 11 was just what an idiot you are if you don't believe everything we say. You're going to kill your grandmother. And they were worshiping Cuomo like there was no tomorrow. They were worshiping my terrible, horrible governor like there was no tomorrow for a year. And now she's sat and crying, oh, I don't gonna do that anymore.
Now, what was going to happen? Were we going to make it to the vaccines? Were we all going to survive? What was going to happen?
Were we all, I'm not making this up, guys. Were we all going to survive? She thought like we would all die. This is the way she was actually talking. Like we're all going to die.
And you know, 580,000 Americans didn't make it to this day. You know, this day that they say that we can throw these away, that we've all been clinging to.
She doesn't want to throw it away.
And
she misses it.
I mean, we just didn't know when this day would come, but it feels a little bit like it's over today.
And she's unhappy that it's over. Am I reading this wrong? If I am, I'm open to being wrong here. But she's like unhappy. Oh, it's over. She's not like, it's over. She's like, she's like, it's over. Look at her. She's not happy about it being over. You would think she'd be happy about that. She's not. And the dude on the left's like, please tell me we're still going to die. I got a job here. What are we going to do? We got no Trump, no COVID. We're CNN. Now what? Hope a plane crashes soon. That's what he's thinking. I can't wait for a plane to crash. Maybe we'll disappear. We'll have another 3 weeks. You know, maybe OJ will kill somebody. We'll get to be on TV for the year.
Doesn't it?
You're getting me emotional too, Allison. I mean, gosh, I got goosebumps as you're talking. I mean, it's a really important day.
They don't know how to handle it, and it's embarrassing. They don't know how to handle it. It's nothing but bad, nothing but bad. Let me grab a couple more of these if I can. A lot of good comments. I appreciate that. Jimmy says you only get your freedom back if you take the vaccination. That's BS. I don't think that'll be true. My gut tells me something else will pop up. They'll cover something else. The deaths will start to go down, and they won't even worry about it anymore. I think it'll begin to go away now. That's my hope, because I don't want you to be right. I don't at all. I just want you to be wrong, Jimmy. So I'm just going to say, yeah, no. Kelly says that's great. So how will they verify vaccination in the general public? There are some venues here in New York that will require proof, stadiums, concerts, etc. But I'm thinking other than that, the science points to stop wearing masks. The science points to stop wearing masks. I don't expect the Wegmans and Aldi's and Walmart are going to ask for proof. In my mind, that means throw away the masks regardless of your status. But I'm almost certain King Andrew Cuomo will have his own follow the science mandates. My gut tells me that they're going to try it, right? And I talked about this on my radio show on WYSL on Tuesday. And I spoke about the idea that if they actually break this up to where the vaccinated sit in this seat and the non-vaccinated sit in this seat, that is a terrible look. I think that has to fail. I just can't imagine us going, the crazy anti-vaxxers are over in that area. I just can't see us as Americans going, yeah, that's good. If we do, we're in bigger trouble, Kelly. And so I hope that I'm right, that we're not going to take that. That'll happen one time. That'll be over. They'll just go, you know what? Good enough. Mask go away. Let's move on. That's what I think is going to happen. They'll find something else to be scared of. That is my gut. But I don't know. Maybe. Tom says, I think everyone should have known last May, after 10 weeks, that COVID was here to stay for a long while. And that's true. I think that's true. Yes. Fry Steve says, in my opinion, if a serial killer is in your neighborhood, listen to police authorities' advice. If a pandemic's in your country, listen to the CDC. I actually agree with you, Steve. But what if the cops had been wrong? What if the cops said, don't worry, Don't worry at all. Just go outside and someone you love got killed by the serial killer. You would kind of not trust the police at that point. You'd be like, whoa, they said go outside, and my friend, cousin, sister, brother got killed by the serial killer. Or they said, don't buy a gun. We got you covered. And then the serial killer kills you anyway. Or the reverse. They said, defend yourself, stay in your house, lock the house up. And you find out later, the serial killer left the country 3 weeks ago. Why did I stay in my house 3 weeks when the serial killer was gone? If that began to happen, you would start to not trust your local police authorities, right? I mean, surely you would. I think the CDC, for many people, has gone through that, right? For many people, that's happened. And I'm with you. I don't like the fact that Pete doesn't trust the CDC. I get it. I understand it. I just wish it wasn't true. And I hope that in the future, the CDC can do the right thing by most Americans and regain that trust, because we should trust the CDC. There shouldn't have to be mandates, because we as a nation should trust our CDC. I'm talking should, obviously. But so what has to happen? The CDC has to do the right job in getting us to believe them so that more Americans will. And many Americans do believe the CDC. They still do, but not enough do. I think more have to. And they have to gain the trust. That doesn't happen magically. They have to gain the trust. So yes. Sorry, that is the Sharpe clips. I appreciate that. CDC is full of employees driven by wages, job security, benefits, and pensions. Yes, absolutely. Desiree says you can have your freedoms as long as you do what you're told. I'm going to go back again to make this clear. And I talked about this last year. If New York State and the federal government had been more transparent and more honest about what we didn't know, and had given us guidelines on what they thought was right, but also what other people thought was correct, we would have trusted them more. And most of us would have voluntarily followed guidelines. Some people wouldn't have, but most would have. But those who wouldn't be so angry, wouldn't be so defiant. They'd be like, I just don't believe it. I'm not doing it. Fine. But we're not fighting over it. And when a vaccine comes out, it doesn't become a Trump vaccine or a Biden vaccine or whatever they fight over that garbage. It becomes a vaccine. And you tell people about the vaccines. Here's what we think about these. And some people would take it. Most probably would have. If you didn't politicize it, some wouldn't, but most would have. We would have come very close to herd immunity anyway, and we wouldn't have to do any of this stuff. We'd have less deaths. It can't be forced. That's the issue. It can't be forced. Brian says, and because of qualified immunity, that pops up again. Thank you, Brian. Most people don't see that. Most people think qualified immunity is only about cops. It is about cops, but it's about all government employees. It is. We can't even petition the CDC for redress. Yes, absolutely. Yes. All right. Jody says Cuomo was a super spreader. Yeah, he kind of was, because he threw everybody into those nursing homes and spread there's no tomorrow. Yes. Small businesses are not super. Tom, you're right. The funny part is there's one group that they found to be kind of a super spreader. Well, there weren't such thing as super spreader, but a big spreader. Big box retailers. You're exactly right, Tom. The small businesses were not super spreaders. The big box retailers were larger spreaders. So which one they keep open? Big box retailers. Yes. So of course we don't trust them. Of course we don't, Tom, because you're completely correct. Absolutely. Nazim says, it's the force I don't like. Should always be voluntary. Yeah. 100%. Jimmy says, this is why I don't watch the news. This crap scares the crap out of me. I'm out. I won't subject myself to this indoctrination crap. Sorry, Larry, I can't do it. I know, but I do this show, Jimmy. I have to. Literally, you guys don't know this. I have to do this show well. I have to watch at least 2 hours of news every day. I know. Some of you are like, what? Yeah, at least 2 hours. Sometimes more. Depends on what's happening, what videos I get. And luckily, many of you also help me out. Many of you will send me stuff. My team will send me stuff. So I have to read through that, watch different shows, look at all types of things all the time, constantly. Yes. So I have to. So it's kind of like my job now. So I do it. So some of you notice you've given me ideas for things in the show. I've done ideas. I've done shows on what you've asked me to do. I've put on guests you guys have asked me to put on. So I do that stuff. It's challenging, but to do this show, I kind of have to. So yes. Fry Steve says, if we meet, please wear your mask. I will. 100%. Brother, I will. I want you to be comfortable. And if it makes you comfortable, I will absolutely wear my mask. I do it often. I bring a mask with me when I go out. I want people to feel comfortable, whatever that is. That's what I want. So yes, I will absolutely wear a mask because you asked me, not because he told me, but because you'd rather me do so. 100% I will. Yes. Yes. So, all right, so if I can do this here. Let's see. A black market COVID vax card for sale. Yeah, I mean, that could be something too. That could be. Absolutely. There we go. It could be. You never know. All right. Francis is a good show, Mr. I appreciate that. I'm trying to do my best to give you guys a decent show. And if you like the show, do me a favor. Like, comment, and share. I want to bring up another piece of this one is from Fox News. This is Tucker Carlson, who, man, Tucker can be a jerk, but sometimes he's right. I hate that he's right because he can really be a jerk, but I got to give him credit is due. He's bringing up an important point, which is kind of crazy. It's the idea that people who are vaccinated are more likely to be afraid, even though they're vaccinated. And I think this goes back to the CNN piece that many people literally for over a year were scared to death. To Jimmy's point, he doesn't want to watch. He's human. If he watches this every day, he's gonna think the world's gonna end too. He knows, like, I'm just a regular man. I don't want to feel this way. But there are many who are so afraid, even though they're vaccinated.
Let's be then. Well, pollsters at the Morning Consult just did that. And here's what they found. Americans who have been vaccinated against COVID are more afraid of going outside than Americans who have not been vaccinated. This
is an issue.
Only a quarter of vaccinated adults say they'd be willing to travel to a...
Think about that. So people who are vaccinated are more afraid. In theory, it should be the opposite, right? But this isn't always logical. It's logical and it's also emotional. People have been so afraid they don't go out. I remember the other woman who was talking about, I think I'll show you that one. She was talking about going out in her bicycle and feeling like she was cheating.
Work conference or enter a gym. Only 24% of them would take the bus. Less than half would be willing to rent a car alone.
Look at that.
Only 34% would go to a party. Just 17% of them would dare to take a cruise, and so on.
Think of that. Meanwhile, the airplane was not a super spreader. Public transportation, not a super spreader.
Numbers are amazing. These people are absolutely terrified of getting COVID.
Yep.
Yet once again, they have all been vaccinated. So clearly many vaccinated Americans, most of them, according to this poll, don't really believe in the COVID.
Well, that's not true. They don't believe in COVID vax. They do believe in it. They just are so accustomed to being afraid. They are accustomed to being afraid. That's the issue. They've been scared into a point where they don't even know how to act anymore. They're so afraid. It's crazy, isn't it? Let me grab a couple of these. Let's see here. So, guys, thank you so much for the comments. I appreciate it. I'll try to get to as many of them as I can. Sometimes I get overwhelmed. Some of you think I'm missing your comments. I'm not. It goes right past. John says, I hate the mask working outside, especially as it gets warmer out. Yeah. What if my wife has cancer and is on track to have it removed after chemo and radiation? Yeah, exactly. John, I'm not against masks. I'm against the mandate. And clearly, if your wife's going to go on chemo, she's going to have a compromised immune system. Yeah. She should be worried and you should wear a mask and she should wear a mask. I agree. You should, of course. Right? I don't want to risk bringing anything home to prevent her surgery. Yep. It's not hard to wear. What if a business owner wants you to wear it? Yep. If businesses want me to wear it, I will happily put the mask on. Of course. However, if the government says to wear it, F them. I agree. See, we're on exactly the same page. Exactly the same page. I don't want the government forcing me, but comments, of course you would. If someone you love has a compromised immune system, of course you should wear a mask. And you would because you love them and because you care about them. And I wouldn't know that your wife had cancer. And if you and I were talking, you said, Larry, put the mask on. I'm in, brother, put it on. Because I don't know what's going on in your life. In this case, obviously, you got an issue. You got someone you love who's in trouble. A mask is on. All good. Mask is on. Yes. Dustin says ratings drop. No. Yes. They're not. Absolutely. Yes. Desiree says, I hate what I hate is people that want to force people to wear a mask indefinitely. If people want to wear a Bosco mask forever, go ahead. Yes, absolutely. Tom, Orange Man bad gone, COVID leaving. What do we do now? Yes, 100%. Yes, totally. It's a problem for them. They have to move over. They have to. So yes. The vaccine doesn't prevent the spread or prevent you from getting it. That's not what Gupta said, David. Dr. Gupta said it does. That's what he said. That's what the CDC is saying. The CDC and Gupta, they're both saying that not only will you not get sick, but also you may not even test positive. But even if you test positive, the odds of you giving it to anyone else, slim to none. That's what he just said. I mean, he just said that. I'm not making that up. That's Dr. Gupta saying it. The CDC, if you watch the entire CDC, she did a long piece. I watched it. If you watch the entire piece, she literally explains that what you're saying is not true. She actually explains that in reality, the vaccine does prevent the spread and it does prevent you from getting it. It does. I'm telling you, the CDC says so. If you, I don't, maybe you don't believe the CDC. Maybe you're like, maybe you also don't, like so many here, don't trust the CDC. But the CDC does say that it does prevent, and so did Gupta. Dr. Gupta just said so. He said it does. So I don't know. I mean, if you don't want to believe it, please, brother, wear the mask if you want to. And if you hang out with me and you want me to wear the mask, I'll do it. 100%. I want to make sure that you're happy and satisfied. I'm just saying the powers that be did actually say it does do that. So, yes. Let's see. Dustin says America has been hijacked by the Musks. They gag the shoulds. Ooh, Dustin, really good. It's true. They're constantly shadow banning me like there's no tomorrow. They shadow ban me constantly. And I'm the biggest shooter of them all. I should all the time. I never order. I only should. Yes. If you don't know if they're vaccinated, just walk up to them and politely ask to draw a serum sample from them to evaluate antibody levels. Yeah. You don't have to be weird about it. Just say, hey, by the way. Yeah, exactly. But I wonder now, does that make people, does that change when you meet people? Do people ask if you're vaccinated? Is that a thing now? Right? Will people ask you? Will they believe you? Will you be showing cards and such? Is that what's going to happen as you start dating people and doing business stuff together again? I wonder. It's kind of okay. On a side note, Tom says, I love last night's hide and seek show and the show itself. Thank you. Yes, they were trying to cancel me left and right. It's very true. Yes, absolutely. That's good. Paula says, welling up. Oh, for crying out loud. CNN's pathetic. No, she's welling up because she's afraid her job's going to end, Paula. She's like, my God, I just bought a new car. I hope I can pay the car note. That's why she's worried. She doesn't care about you. She does not care about you at all, Paula. She doesn't care about me. She's like, now what kind of show am I going to have? Our ratings are going to go in the toilet. No one's going to watch us anymore. They're going to hope that maybe Trump runs for Congress or something. They're going to hope they can go yell at Trump again. I don't know. That might work. So yes, it's terrible. This is why people should ask their doctors before taking the vaccine. They shouldn't listen to celebrities and TV doctors. Agreed. Yes, agreed. And there's the other issue I always had. What happens if your doctor says you shouldn't take the vaccine? What the doctor says you should, what you have an issue, a concern, or a worry, and the doctor says vaccine for you is a bad idea. You shouldn't do it. Are you now all of a sudden a crazy anti-vaxxer and now you're an idiot and a deplorable or whatever? People are going to think that, and they shouldn't, because you should listen to the doctor that you trust. Yes. Sam says Project Veritas exposed CNN producers and the milking of the COVID death toll for ratings. Yes, absolutely. This clip, science says it's safe, but what about my feelings and wanting to be irrationally scared news? Well, there we go. Guys, check that clip out. Absolutely. Yes, 100%. I think it's real, right? We get this. Desiree says it. Fear sells. Yes. Nazim says you're 100% right, Larry. Yeah, they were concerned. They weren't worried about you, Paula, at all. They saw their jobs going in the toilet. That's it. Yes. Steve says, I can't wait for a plane to crash. That's what he's thinking. You know he is. He's like, now what? What do we do now? 100%. CNN used to do a body count for the war in Iraq. I remember that, Paula. God, we've been around a bit, huh? Yes, CNN likes body counts for Republican presidents. Body counts don't happen for Biden. Hold on, is that true? Trying to think. Was there a body count? Yeah, you're right. Wow. Subtle, Paula. I'm trying to remember how many body counts for Obama. And Obama was bombing. Like there's no, I'm not getting me wrong. Trump bombed too. So did Bush. They all bombed, right? Biden's already bombing. So they're all bombing. But I'm trying to think. I think you're right. I can't remember a body count at all during Obama's 8 years of bombing. I don't remember one body count. I think you're right. Maybe. Now you got me thinking. That's not bad. I got to think about that one. I don't remember. Yes. Paul then says, thanks for posting this, Larry. It makes me want to puke, but I appreciate your commentary as always. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yes, 100%. John Som says, we should be burning masks and dancing in the streets. Yes, we should be happy about this. 100%. We should be happy, right? Of course we should. In theory, I guess, in theory. So let's see here. Let's see if I can keep going here. King Andrew says New York isn't ready to follow federal advice on going maskless. Is that true? Oh, I got to check that one out. I'm sure he's going to have another one. All right. I got to check his next press conference. I'll have one and he'll have some reason to make us more scared. Of course, he doesn't want to go away because then we have to start talking about all his issues, right? So he has to make sure that we keep talking about COVID. We have to. Yes, we have to, of course. So Brenda says, as an LPN working in long-term care, nursing homes, we were first cajoled to be vaccinated, then offered gift cards, then told we won't be able to travel, now shamed, do you want to kill your residents? Wow. Wow. Brenda, that's terrible. Despite that, those of us who have refused vax still wear full PPE. Yeah. Look, I get their worry. I do. But again, if I would hope, I mean, I don't know this, but I would hope that the vast majority of people in nursing care homes, the residents, would be vaccinated because many of them, obviously not all, but many of them are going to be in that scary zone, right? They're going to be over 65. They're going to be over 70 even. Many of them are going to have pre-existing conditions. So I would hope that you will get them vaccinated as soon as possible. Really, I would hope so. So I don't know. It makes sense for that to happen. It does make sense. Mark says big box chains was a scam on us. 100%. The big box chains made a killing. Amazons, Walmarts, Targets, all of those, even the laws like the Dollar Generals, they destroyed everything else. Absolutely. Kirk said, that's what I love about libertarians. They're honest. Ooh, I like that. They truly believe that candid honesty can be achieved. Unfortunately, it's not practical in the world's perspective. The honesty that libertarians convey is their Achilles heel. I hope you're wrong, Kirk. I like your concept, and I do think it can work. The issue is, do you want to be honest and have your eyes closed? I try to keep my eyes open and be honest, right? Many of the things that you guys say here, I don't like. I don't like. I hope you're wrong because I want things to be good. But I'm honest. I tell you, I hope you're wrong, but you might be right. And I try my best to give you guys good ideas that make sense, that you can go, yeah, I could do that. That would make sense to me. I'm okay with that. And I hope that my honesty, and I try to be as honest as I possibly can. I would hope that my honesty is that even when you disagree and go, Larry, you're full of it. That's no, that's wrong. I hope it. I hope that when you get there, you still go, you know what? But I believe Larry's, he's still saying what he honestly feels. He's trying to get the same goal I want to get. He's arguing in good faith. He's just wrong versus he's a liar trying to scam me. I hope none of you think that. I hope you just think, nah, he's wrong on this. He wants to get the same place, but it ain't going to work. I'll buy that. So I'm going to stay and I will happily take that as my Achilles heel. If I got to have that as my Achilles heel, not a bad one. I'll take it. We'll see. Carl says the vaccine turned Larry's hair gray. Did. Here too. Did. It's terrible. I got it. Yes. That's terrible. Farzy says, I get it. When I was a cannabis grower, I used to have to smoke 2 hours of OG Kush a day. Nice. I love that. Nice. That's very good. And look, it's your business, right? You got to do what you got to do. I get it. I'm sure you hated it, but you did it because you cared. That's why you did it, because you cared. Absolutely. It's very good. Benjamin says, I identify as vaccinated. There we go. Problem solved. There we go. Problem solved. Yes. It's very good. I feel safe. I will feel safer when creepy King Cuomo's out of office and retired to private life. Paula, I'm with you on that one. Yes. Dustin says, how many times were people told they'd still need masks after being vaccinated? A lot, Dustin, because the fear was always out there. The fear was always out there. Yes. It was always out there. Yes. Car53 says, I just took the protest civil disobedience survey. I was almost at the peak of the chart of being a libertarian. Not surprised. Wow, I wanted to share it on my Facebook and Twitter, but it didn't let me. This point. Oh, I'm sorry. You can cut and paste it maybe. Maybe try that if you could. I'm sorry. I thought it would. I apologize. But thank you for taking it. I appreciate it. Yes. Nazim says, I'm fully vaccinated because I choose to. Amazing. That's the exact right reason to get vaccinated. Because you choose to. That's the perfect reason to get vaccinated. There's not a better reason. That's the best one. Garb says, Larry Sharpe, you rock. I try. I do. I try. Thank you. CDC said that about the DTaP vax, and they were caught in a lie. Is that true? I don't remember that. Team, if you're watching, let's check that one out. I don't know where that one's going. I'm gonna do some homework on that one. Shadow Warden. I appreciate the piece. I will look at that. So yes. Rob says, what is your opinion on the New York City mayor race? Do you feel Andrew Yang leans more to the Libertarian Party? This is a tough one. I'm obviously supporting the Libertarian candidate, who is Stacey Pressman. You can check her out at Stacey Pressman for mayor. Pressman for mayor, Prussman for mayor.com if you want to check her out. She's Libertarian Party, and I'm hoping that she'll make some real impact. I'm already supporting her. When it comes to Yang, this is a very relative piece. Remember how New York City runs. For those of you who don't know, if you live in New York City, you'll get what I'm saying. In New York City, there are only left candidates. There are no right candidates in New York City. They don't exist. 70% of New York City registered voters are registered Democrats. 70%. Our governor said we're going to pick a new mayor here in June. Our election's in November. So why would he say we're picking a new mayor in June? Because that's a Democratic primary. Whoever wins the primary is almost always the mayor. I want you to know where we're going. If you're in New York City and you're running for mayor and you're basically like a communist, you go, I'm run Democrat. They go, well done. Perfect. So you go, I'm not really a full communist. I'm kind of just a regular socialist. Oh, you're a regular socialist. Okay, you run Republican. That's how Republicans. New York City Republicans are socialists. Democrats are communists. That's how New York City works. So just so you get this first, Ralph, before I say that. So relative to that piece, Yang is probably one of the more libertarian Democrats as far as far left Democrats go. So I had to prep that before I said anything. Otherwise, I'm going to get so much massive attacks. So relative to the other Democrats, he does lean towards our party. That's true. But he is still absolutely a Democrat. I hope that answers your question. So I know I did a lot of prepping. I had to set the show before I went there. So if you live in New York City, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So I hope that was clear for you. So yes. All right. See if I can keep going here. Doctors don't have the autonomy they once used to, Kirk says. Healthcare administration holds all the power now. It holds a lot. I agree. Unless you're lucky enough to have a smart, independent physician who stays on top of the research, we know that they're rare and expensive. And they're almost always not taking insurance. It's the other issue. They will very often not take insurance because they'll be for the elites. They'll only take cash. That's a common problem here in New York City. You find that very often, right? You find that often. So yes. So Larry, who do you see in New York City mayoral election? I think there's only three options to be for a victory. If Yang doesn't shoot himself in the foot, I think right now it looks like he's going to win. if he does shoot himself in the foot, it'll be the Brooklyn Borough President, Eric Adams. He is probably one of the more right-leaning Democrats. Again, remember my previous thing? So he is seen by many as a bit more of a moderate compared to the other left Democrats. Let me be clear. This is a relative scale, right? I think he is, he leans towards the right. He's a former cop, borough president of Brooklyn. So I think he would have another chance, or an outsider like Stacey Pressman, if she has an amazing debate. And how New York City works. In New York City, some of you may not know this. If you're able to raise $250,000 in a very specific way, at least $250 from 1,000 different New York City residents. So you get at least $250 from 1,000 New York City residents, or more, obviously. You get that. You get matching funds. And the matching funds in New York City is 8-1. I'm not joking. So if you raise $250 from 1,000 registered New Yorkers, New York City will give you $2 million in taxpayer money to run your campaign. Yes, that's how New York City runs. So you, or me, because I live in New York City, am going to pay for everybody's political run. So the good thing about this, and while that's tough, but the good thing about this, there is a good side to this. If you take the matching funds, then you must debate, or you lose the matching funds. So there's the event. It's New York City law, not New York State, New York City law. So if you take it, you have to debate. So if we can get Stacey Pressman to actually get that cash and get that money, she'll be in the debate stage with whoever wins, which might be Yang. If Yang wins, we'll have Stacey Pressman on the debate stage, a libertarian on the debate stage, which will be a national debate stage because it's Yang. And there'll be a libertarian on debate stage. If that happens, and I hope it will happen, she could have a breakout performance and win the election. From Larry, you're crazy. No, that's how Jesse Ventura won the governor of Minnesota. Literally, that's what happened to him. He got on the debate stage, knocked it out of the park. Governor of Minnesota. So I think it will probably be either Yang. If Yang shoots himself in the foot, it'll be Eric Adams. But I think it will probably be Yang. I think Yang will get the Democratic nomination. If Stacey Pressman can then get on the debate stage, she has a chance at beating Yang. Otherwise, I think it's going to be Yang. That's my opinion on that. We'll see what happens. So I hope that answered your question at least. Yes. All right. So if I can keep doing this. Tom says, go Miss Pressman. There we go. Yes, I agree. Go, go, go. Absolutely. Carl says, I met Andrew Yang wearing my libertarian shirt, and he said, oh, I love libertarians. That's when I knew he was a liar. That's very good. That's when he was a liar. Yes. Actually, he does love it because, to be forward again, if you're libertarian leaning in New York City, if Stacey Pressman doesn't get in the debate stage, and I hope she does, a lot of libertarians are going to vote for Yang because he goes that route. They often go there. Some will do so. So yeah, we'll see. So anyway, I hope that answers your question at least. California Libertarian Convention sounds like a blast. I hope it will be. I'll be raising money for a lot of people there. That's what I do. I very often raise money for people. Some of you don't know this. In the past now 5 years, 6 years, how long have I been raising money? Since 2014, I think I've been raising money for the party. So about 7 years, 6 years, 2015 maybe. In the past 6 years or so, I've raised almost $1 million for libertarian candidates and libertarian state affiliates as I go around raising cash whenever I possibly can. A lot of that's for myself, though. I raised about $500,000 for myself, and the other $500,000 was for others. So my biggest chunk before myself was Gary Johnson. I think I raised about 160,000 for him, give or take. About 500,000 for me, about 160,000 for him, and the rest was for county affiliates or state affiliates. So, and also other candidates. I've gone and raised money for the candidates too. So yes, I'm all about raising money for people to the best of my ability. Yes. Brian says, so in New York City, the LP is the far right. Sometimes, yeah. And look, libertarian candidates in New York City are still left libertarians. You're not really going to find right libertarians running for office in New York City. There just aren't enough of them, and no one will listen to them. So the only way of having any impact is being a left-leaning libertarian in New York City. It's where we are. It drives some people crazy. I know, like, wait a minute, how can you do that? They're left-leaning. It's New York City, guys. You know, except maybe San Francisco. It's probably the most left-leaning city in the entire country. I mean, maybe San Fran's more. I'm not sure that's true. It might. But New York City is very left. Look at our mayor. Our mayor. And this is what you'll get about our mayor. Our mayor, when COVID hit, decided that he had to take care of our poor, our homeless. So he took taxpayer dollars, again, totally true story, taxpayer dollars, and put them up in 4- and 5-star hotels in the Upper West Side of Manhattan. That's what he did. That's what de Blasio did. And when he did that, again, taxpayer dollars are doing it. The people who drop $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 a month in rent got mad. The wealthy up there got mad and came down and said, "What are you doing? Why I got these poor people and these homeless people in my area? I'm dropping $6,000 a month on rent. I don't want to pay for this. What's wrong with you?" You know what he said? "Shut up and pay. You should care. What's wrong with you?" That's what he did. He didn't say, "You're right. I'm so sorry." He said, "What is wrong with you? Why aren't you true believers? Give your money to them. Shut up." That's what he said to him. That's New York City. So, yeah, sometimes you're right, Brian. That's New York City, 100%. Sam says, New York politics, de Blasio, communist, AOC, Democratic Socialist, a.k.a. communist, Cuomo, progressive, who wants to end tourism industry and make it state-run. See also communism, Schumer, socialist. Very good. Thank you, Sam. Yes, it's kind of how it works. Yes, it's kind of how it works. Yes, totally true. So 100%. I just think it's very funny that way. So guys, do me a favor if you would, like, comment, and share. I know I keep saying it. It does matter. Please do that to the best of your ability. If you can support the show, do so. Patreon.com/Sharpeway. $10 a month is going to help. $25 a month is going to help. It gets us to do the other things we need to do. Like I said, our TikTok, our Sharpeway clips. You can listen to this show, right? We now actually have this show as a podcast. You can just listen to the show if you want to. Head over to, click the link tree. You'll see it on Anchor. You can listen to it on Apple, whatever's your thing. Listen to the show as a podcast if you want to. All good. That happens because you support the show. If you can't support the show, you don't have the cash, then take the civil disobedience survey and then share it. Finish it and share it. And you will see things will change because that's our sponsor. And the last thing I'm going to ask you tonight, if you don't mind, is subscribe to the YouTube page. It does matter. The Sharpeway YouTube page, subscribe. If you already subscribed to that, then subscribe to Sharpeway on Twitter. Whatever you can subscribe to or whatever you can follow, please do so. It does matter. Guys, no show tomorrow. I'm going to be traveling. I'll be in California this weekend. I'll be back on Monday. I will see you all after the weekend. Have a great weekend, everybody.